Hey guys, welcome back to the Read Receipts Podcast. I'm Jaclyn.
I'm Devon.
I'm Caity.
And today we are talking audiobooks. I am actually a pretty avid audiobook listener. And as of late, it's kind of been my go-to.
Really?
Yeah. It's been a really busy month and I've had to do a lot more like Aaron's been off work, so I've been kind of covering for him and getting to do more packing orders, more of that type stuff. So I actually have the time to kind of listen as opposed to when I'm doing other work. I feel like listening, I try sometimes. I don't know about you guys, but I try. And I'll be like, I've not been listening for 4 chapters. I should probably put the audiobook down. But I like the sound of something. I'm always listening to something, music or podcast. But lately, yeah, quite a few. I want to say like 2 or 3 in the last month. So on a roll.
That's good. I do the same. I feel like I only listen when I'm doing like mundane tasks where I can use that part of my brain where I'm actually listening. So like, yeah, packing orders or some like monotonous like cleaning or something, then I'll do an audiobook.
Do you ever feel like the only way to get yourself excited, like the other day, our kitchen was I was so backed up on dishes and so many things to do, and I was literally like, I don't want to, and I'm like, oh, or you could start a new audiobook, and like it was like the thing that got me like excited to do it. So sometimes I use like audiobooks to like, and I'll even listen. It just depends. Like on drives are obviously the best, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's like the only time I can do an audiobook is like a long drive. Like it has to be more than 5 hours and then I'll put on an audiobook. But other than that, nope.
Where are you where are you commuting for more than 5 hours?
Down to like Outer Banks.
Oh, okay.
I'm going down the beach, then I'll put on an audiobook. But other than that, like I will tune it out. I can only really do music. And I constantly have music going, but like,
Yeah.
I just can't do it.
Well, you're both like ADHD girlies, huh? Is that right?
Pretty bad.
Yeah.
You know this.
Undiagnosed. Not professionally diagnosed, but
I did get the professional diagnosis like a couple years ago.
I got the one that's like, it was an online Zoom doctor and he was like in his basement and he was like, you have ADHD. And I was like, I believe you. However, slit is shady.
Enough to get you a prescription, right? That's all.
Yeah. You paid for that.
Exactly. So I was like, because I know myself and I'm like, I obviously have it. However, I don't know. When he was telling me about it, I was like, I feel like I know more than you.
Oh my God.
Well, TikTok, like, I feel like diagnoses everybody now. So it's almost like I'm so happy I got the diagnosis because it makes a lot more things like the days that I feel like I just want to cry. Like I can't understand why I can't do things. I feel like I'm a little more nicer to myself, a little more understanding, but like at the same time, just the amount of videos I get, they're like, if you have ADHD, this is what I'm like, oh my God, another thing. And I'm like, wait, this can't be my whole personality now. Like we need to stop like attributing things to it. But no, it is pretty, as a reader, that ADHD reading is like such, people are like, wait, you read and I'm like, no. I read like a crazy person, but I read so many books at a time. I drop books when I just like lose a little bit of interest.
I need like sound in the background as I'm reading because I can't just sit in silence and read or I will implode.
Yeah, like, same thing like I can't do certain tasks. Like that's why I like the audiobooks is like I literally am so bored doing like dishes or things like that, and it's like the one thing that can get me to do those things. And like I think that's the other thing. One of the hallmarks is like I have a hard time starting tasks, like transitioning from one to the next. And like I said, literally me being like, it's a treat reward dopamine system for me to be like an audiobook. Like that's what I'm gonna do. Like that's what's gonna get me excited. But it works. And I don't know. I'm really thankful for audiobooks and in 2 ways. Like one, when they're really well done, sometimes they're better than a physical book to me. Like there's certain books where I was like, I recommend to people, I was like, just go skip straight. If you listen to books, like listen to this one. Actually, one I just read, I'm going to recommend now.
Oh, jumping in. Okay.
We're going in. I cannot see a better time than now. But None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. It is a murder mystery-ish. She's a pretty popular author in that realm, and she does such a good job. But the reason why the audiobook is just stellar is that the premise of the book is I'm gonna have a funny anecdote story about this, but the premise is that it's a podcast. There's a podcaster. She's one of your main characters, and she has this podcast, and she meets this person who ends up being her birthday twin. Like they're out at dinner together, and they both realize they're both celebrating their birthdays, and it's like, oh wow, we were born on the same day. And then it kind of like sparks this idea to start. She starts a podcast with her, and so a lot of it that you're hearing is sort of like clips from the podcast. But what's interesting is that not only in the way these books are, they play with the timelines, right? Sometimes you're in the future, sometimes you get a little snippet in the future, sometimes you're in the past. And it's just to kind of keep you interested and intrigued. But the beginning of it, I thought I was listening to an ad because they were like, this season on Netflix, they literally said Netflix. And I was like, oh gosh, this is already being turned into an, of course it is, you know? And then I realized that's just like the future of the book. Something big is going to happen, and this podcast is going to get turned into a Netflix special. So like, you know, something crazy is going to happen, and you're kind of like there with it, like while it's leading up to it, like while she's recording the podcast. So the beginning of chapters, they play like snippets of interviews that would have been like on the show, the Netflix show that happens in the future. I don't like, honestly, I'm sure when you're reading it, it's a lot more like understandable what's in front of you. But when you're listening to it and you don't know that that's coming, it literally, the moment I realized that wasn't just an ad, I was like, why is there an ad in this book?
Yeah.
That threw me off. But then after that, I was like, this is great, because they would play like things that make it sound like a recording. They would edit the audio so you would know that you're like listening to a recording, and there would be a little snippet saying, this is from an interview from so-and-so. And there's two different, it was honestly so entertaining. And if people haven't tried that genre, I'm going to heavily suggest, if you're looking for a new genre or a new audiobook, None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. It was so fun.
So it does give context to what you're listening, because I feel like sometimes I'll listen to an audiobook, and if you're reading it makes sense because it's either like an excerpt at the beginning of the chapter or whatever, and it only makes sense on paper, but they don't like add that extra bit in the audio where they're just reading from the book and they don't add like whatever it is, like, or if you're like changing like POVs and like suddenly like in between chapters and they don't say that, and then I get so confused and I'm like, where am I? Who am I? What is my what lens am I tuning into? I don't know anymore.
I think it was just the initial, like, it sounded like we just rolled through, because I usually do the credits, like, this book is, like, brought to you by, and, like, they list the publisher and the author, like, you know, and it was, like, literally just followed all of that so immediately that I thought that it was an ad, because it's, like, literally the beginning of the book. Every chapter starts with, like, them saying the character's name so you know, and they have different, which I love when they have different, narrators for different characters. It really helps, because some books, when you have the same narrator, it makes it really hard jumping POVs. But after that, it made a lot more sense when I realized that it wasn't an ad. I did listen to this one on Spotify. It is part of the Spotify premium subscription.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
I'm obsessed. I'm loving the new feature of having audiobooks on Spotify. There are so many choices. I love that it's combined with my Spotify, that I already pay for Spotify. And I haven't run into the trouble of hitting over the 15 hours yet. You have? Okay.
I am in Spotify jail, and I'm so mad. So I was like you. I was very excited. I was saving books, and like this one, I listened to the entirety of it, and I was like, oh my God, this is such a great, like, they have such good options. I was like I knew I would keep Audible, but I was like, this is about to, like, I'm about to just devour, especially like in the phase that I'm in. I'm really into this. And I like started another book. It was the part of the book where I was getting excited, and it literally is like, I'm sorry, you're out of listening hours for this month. You can buy more credits to listen to more. or you can wait like 15 days because one book. So what is it? Do we know? Is it 15 hours you said?
It's 15 hours, but what I want to know is that, so for example, like if a book is 8 hours audio, but you're playing it at 1.5 speed, so now it's, half that, is it still, are you only credited for the 8 hours, or it's how long you've been listening? So technically I've only been listening for like 5 hours. Do we know?
I don't know. Because like there was no warning. Like it was just I was out. So like I hadn't quite ran into like realizing that there was a time limit until I hit it. And then I was like, oh, I would have really liked to know because maybe I wouldn't have listened to this book on here because it was however many hours. But to me, on average, most audiobooks are 10 plus, 14 plus. And then when you get into fantasy, they're more than that hours. And if you do listen faster, I do wonder. But I imagine it's probably more like the recorded time. I don't know.
I think it is, if you listen faster, you can get more books in, because I did try to listen to an audiobook. Can't recommend it because I did tune it out, but that was the issue, because I kept having to go back chapters to re-listen to them because I was tuning it out, and then I used up all my hours on the one book that I think was like 7 hours total.
Oh my god!
And I listened to it for 15 hours because I kept having to go back and like re-listen.
I do that in Audible all the time. I
can't recommend the book because I still don't know what happened. It's called Blonde Identity, if anyone wants to read it. It was like a spy book.
Blonde Identity.
I don't know.
Sounds fun, but maybe not.
Dude, they sounded like they had a great time when I listened.
Has anyone looked into how much the additional like credits cost? I need to look into this. I was just mad. I'm in jail and I'm mad.
I haven't gotten there because I haven't hit it. But I also like listening on Audible at the same time. So like anytime I start a new one now, I'll check if it's in Spotify first. If it is, I'll listen in Spotify. I haven't run into the 15-hour issue, but also I feel like maybe the books I'm selecting either aren't long enough or I'm literally listening at like 2x speed. So I'm like, I feel like I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, I don't know. That's my thing is I need to look in the cost because like it could be there are a lot of good options which I like, but I think it's just gonna be like it's kind of like my freebie book, maybe book and a half. That like there's nothing that will like throw you off more than being like in the middle like realizing you can't listen to more without paying for it. And that like I get that's probably that's on me for not like looking into how it works because again I probably would have picked different made choices. Like I like that it's an option now. Like you said, I'm comparing what's in Audible and what I'm using my credits for. And like definitely with this in mind, I'm gonna then recommend if you have an Audible subscription, you use those credits for those long like fantasy length books and then save this one for the shorter because romance novels tend to be a lot shorter. There's just good selection on Spotify. I have to say it's a good selection.
Yeah.
And it's obviously not costing me more for that 15 hours. So what can I
I bet if you go into your settings, you can see how long you have left in your hours for the month. I'm sure it's in there. So that way you can
you're picking your next book.
Yeah. So you're not picking a 21-hour fantasy book.
Been like, no, I have to wait however many. I just remember at the time it was like 15 days. And I was like, I'm going to forget everything that happened in this book by then.
15 days? What? I'm a new woman in 15 days. Like, there's no way I'm remembering that fantasy book that I read 30 pages of. Absolutely not.
This has been really
full
informational.
Book.
Yeah, no. A lot to keep in mind. But no. I'm still going to keep using it. I just need to, I think I want to look into how much credits cost. And then 2, just like you said. Or start listening into it faster. Because that sounds right, Devon. If you're like running out before you finish the book, then it's how like long you're listening, which is kind of wild. Important things to note. What about you, Caity? Is there one you've listened to recently or one that you're recommending audiobook wise?
I'll come in with a recommendation on Spotify. I feel like we were just talking about this, but the whole Magnolia Parks Daisy Haites. Oh my god. Because here, one thing I love about audiobooks is doing it as like a re-listen. And someone on TikTok was talking about how you have to listen to the Magnolia Parks Daisy Haites books on Spotify or Audible because they all have English accents. And I was like, sign me up. So what did I do this week? I listened to Daisy Haites, and I was like, I am freaking loving this so much. It is incredible. The accents are on par. Obsessed. So
Julian is so hot.
yeah, like truly. And like
voice actor.
You know what? And like, here's the thing. I said I didn't like Christian, but his voice is so good.
Is it like each character gets a different
Each
narrator?
character has a narrator, and so it's the three of them in the book. So they each have their own voice actor, and I feel like they did such a phenomenal job at like whoever they chose for narrating. And I don't know if you guys watched One Day on Netflix. But the voice actor for Christian sounds like the main character from One Day. And that could also just be me and just loving English accents. I don't know. But it sounds just like him. And I'm obsessed. And so now that's who I'm picturing as Christian. And I'm like, I kind of love that for him. Like, it feels right.
Oh, I like that fan cast. No, funny thing about the English accents. Do you know that like when I started getting into like the mystery thriller novels, like detective murder mystery, I literally, one of my requirements on the audiobooks was that it had to be like a British. I would literally not listen. I would like do the preview, and if it wasn't a British like narrator, I was like, absolutely not.
Oh my God.
It was like a requirement. I've never told anyone. I would be like, have you read? And I'm like, oh, I'm really like into audiobooks right now, and I'm not doing American accents. So they're just better.
Sometimes they're like so embarrassing. Like, oh my God. Like, prime example, Jaclyn in House of Lemon Shadow, House of Sky and Breath. Like, how embarrassing are you? Like, quit, you're embarrassing yourself.
Why? What is his voice?
He has like a him and his sister have like a yeehaw Western accent, but like not good at all.
Right.
Like, it's so bad. It's
so bad.
It's so random.
You know what I hate when we're talking about narrators is I hate when there's like either a girl or a guy. I think guys do this worse. I'm trying to remember which book it was I read, but it was like it would switch to a guy's narrative, and anytime a woman would talk while it was in the guy's narrative, he would like the females always sounded so whiny. It'd be like he would say her dialogue and he would just like go up and not like it was, and women do it all the time. I don't know if they just do it better. They just like lower their register a little bit and you like know that it's the man talking. But oh my gosh, why men literally, it's like, do you hate women? Like,
it's low.
Do you hate?
Yeah.
Why are
it's
you
low-key embarrassing sometimes listening to a male trying to do a woman's voice. Like, it's like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have done that.
I feel like that's a good test if you're like dating and be like, do a woman's voice. And if they get whiny and stuff, I'd be like, and get out.
And no.
I've seen what I needed to see. We're done.
I've heard what I needed to hear.
Yeah.
It says a lot.
Oh my God.
No, man, British accents though, top tier in the audiobooks. I get real excited. Speaking of Lisa Jules, they have British accents, so
cute. Maybe I'll read that one or listen to it.
Just look at don't be cautious. Don't waste all your Spotify hours on it. No, it was worth it. I'm glad I did it.
Mm.
No, you know what another favorite of mine. So I do like you, Caity, like re-listens to audiobooks is like the best. Like it as someone who's like when you've already read a book, sometimes I just want to like I already know what's happening. It's the best time to listen to an audiobook because you can like tune out and you still know what's gonna happen. You can pop back in whenever and you're like, I know this part. But I also like it for books like fantasy books that have insane pronunciations. Like Fate, Inked in Blood, I like both listened and read the physical copy, and thank God, because I can't imagine trying to like the pronunciation just wasn't happening. Like I was not imagining people's names until I heard the audiobook, and then I was like, oh, okay, that's how you say that, or that's how that's pronounced, because there's a lot of like Nordic names, phrases, and I was like, oh man, this is overwhelming, but it's really like I feel confident now to talk about it with somebody because I've listened to the audiobook and I know how it's pronounced.
Well, I can't wait to talk about it then because I feel like I'm going to just fake it till I make it with every single one of those names, as I do with every fantasy book. Just I make up a new name for them, you know?
It's a
And
whole
like you're Joe.
Reese versus Rice situation for sure.
Oh yeah, I was like,
Where were you
why?
on that?
I was Rice all the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was like, it's Rice and why would it
Pretty
ever
sure
be
I was
Reese?
Ryan.
Just a new name altogether.
Yeah, there's no time. There's no time to figure it out.
Well, here's the problem. Like probably the easiest name was Amarantha, and I said, no, it's Samantha. Every single time it's Samantha. But for whatever reason, like my brain just could not compute that one on page. But I feel like that's the easiest one. Instead of
Like,
like
if you sound it
Lucian,
out.
Lucen.
But I don't like sound out what I'm reading. Like I'm just like
No, I just go
vibe.
I'm like
Moving
you
on. Amanda, Samantha.
Unless I give them a name and then it's just automatically, I don't know how, but like I just read like Ryan. I don't think it was actually Ryan. I think it's just.
I hope it was Ryan, and you said that every single time.
Ryan.
Love Ryan.
Love that. No, honestly, I'm trying to think. Probably, yeah. I don't know if I focus much when I'm reading on pronunciation, especially in fantasy, because then I'll get caught up on but then when you start having to discuss the book, there's no more anxiety than walking into a room where you're like, what was his name? You say it first. And I'll just agree.
Who were your favorite characters?
Oh man, but yeah, Fate, Inks, and Blood is another one I would recommend. The narrators are good. They also have like a Nordic accent, so it's not British, but it's also like as they're pronouncing. I can't even say that word. As they're pronouncing the names and the like locations and the so it actually kind of feels like you're more in it kind of immerses you more in, which I think is the same thing for Magnolia Parks. Like having the British accents and the fact that they have dialects and things like that, I think is like more immersive.
Oh yeah, they do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all different dialects. Because it's all the hoopla of like where you live in England and like what your accent is and is it proper, is it whatever.
Good attention to detail.
Can't even get into it because I don't even know.
I don't even know. I'm pretending like I know, but
I'm pretending like I know. Yeah, as per usual, I'm pretending like I know.
Have you guys listened to like I'm gonna guess Devon, you haven't, but Caity, have you listened to like the action style? I don't even know what you call that. Like audiobooks. What do you call that? There's a name.
Or like the cinematic ones, or they're like
where there's sound effects.
What is it called? The whatever immersive.
Is it dramatized? No,
dramatized. I think is right.
Right. All I know is that in the ACOTAR ones, I've heard people play the like winnowing sound is like a whoosh, like, and I'm like, what did that need a sound? I don't know.
Here's the thing. What is the word? I don't know. I listen to the ACOTAR series all the time. It's just like a go-to if I have nothing else to listen to, because I have them all on Audible and I just listen to them whenever. Out of order, doesn't matter. I'll just put one on, whatever I'm feeling. But I've never had like the inkling to listen to the dramatized version. I feel like it would scare me and I would hate it.
Like the idea of the smut scenes, literally, I die.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Wait!
Devon's just now coming to for a second.
There's no way.
Yeah, I can't do it.
I feel like I've heard clips, like little, like not like the spicy bits, but maybe the foreplay leading up. I've heard sounds and things like that because people will make audio clips and put them on TikTok. And I've just immediately was like, what? That's exactly what I thought it might be, and still not for me.
One growl and I'm out. Like, I'm out. Can't do it.
No, it's not necessary for me. I at least have that much imagination that I don't require a sound effect.
No, my imagination is too active for that. Can't do it.
I might be able to do it if I skip the smut scenes. Like, I feel like I would like possibly like the sound effects. Maybe that would help me get into an audiobook, especially because I've already read it, so I don't have to pay too much attention. but I don't think I could sit through
We'll try it and report
dramatic
back.
sex scene
Can
with
you
sound effects.
Can you try the first one and the report back, or try Mist and Fury because that's your fave, right?
Yeah, I've only read A Court of Thorns and Roses once. When I first read it, I've never gone back.
Same.
I've only ever done re-listen, and I think I've re-listened like 3 times.
Maybe I will, just to hear Tamlin on the fiddle or in the, what does he play?
Wait, Calamar, whatever it's called, is gotta be such a fucking hoot.
Such a vibe though, with like the bonfires crackling and the fiddle going. It's a party.
Oh my god. Okay, maybe
I'll give it a listen.
I'll do it. I think we can all do it.
Okay.
Homework.
We've made a pact. It better be a vibe. I'm gonna piss out. Like, I'm telling you, but I'm still sticking to 1 growl and I am out.
You know which one I've been
out pretty quick. I think it starts with a growl. You know what? It starts with a wolf.
I think it's like chapter 1, growl.
And then she kills it.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. Sorry.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry. You spoiled the whole book.
Oh no. You know which one that I've actually been tempted to is Fourth Wing. Because of the dragons. I've heard that one guy that like Taryn's voice or whatever. It's more like a sample. It's like a little sample. I just want to hear what he sounds like. I don't need to listen to the whole thing.
Well, Devin, was it you that replied to my story the other day? And
you scared the shit out of me. I had my noise canceling headphones on, and you guys pop up. Like if I open Instagram, if you guys post a story, you're front too. And I was like, oh, Caity posted. I look at her story, and it's a repost of the new Fourth Wing book coming out, but it opens with a growl, and I had my volume all the way up because I was listening to music, and all of a sudden I just hear a growl in my ears, and I scrumped a scrump. Can't even talk. Terrified. Not prepared.
It's honestly, it's kind of scary.
It's fine.
Go ahead.
If this episode has taught me anything, it's that none of us could narrate an audiobook to save our fucking lives.
Oh my god, no. No. But here's the thing. I'll say this about the Fourth Wing one is that I don't know if I can listen to it because the Taryn one, it's like, why is he so sexy? Like,
it's just gonna feed that really bad.
Like, I don't want this. You already talked about this of like the people that like have that weird ship of like Taryn and Violet. I'm like, I don't want that. But like he's such a good voice actor. I'm like, cute. And meanwhile, Devin's like scared the fuck out of me. The growling is too much though.
Yeah.
Should I bring my recommendation?
Yeah.
This is a wild card. It's not an audiobook, but I felt like I had to do some homework and like bring something to the table.
Okay.
But what I've been obsessing over is an album. Have you guys listened to Ethel Cain's Preacher's Daughter album?
No.
I'm obsessed with it. So it's like the whole album follows a storyline from like beginning to end. And it's really dark, and some might find it disturbing. I love it.
Okay.
And she's making a book now based on the storyline. And I cannot wait. She said it's going to take like 15 years because it's going to be a trilogy. So 3 books. But I've just had that album on repeat as I'm working. And like, that's my audiobook.
So every song, she's like the whole... like lyrically, it's a story.
Mm-hmm. Should I go through the story? 'Cause it's not really a spoiler because it's the album. And you kind of, if I listened to the album, I wouldn't have known the story. You have to look it up and you get into like the lore of it and you're like, oh.
Give us Give us a little taste of the lore.
So you begin with Ethel is like small town, Alabama, preacher's daughter, like grew up really religiously in high school. And then she like has a falling out with religion. And then she's like thinking back about her first time love. He left the small town a while ago. She didn't go with him. So then she gets a new boyfriend, and he is like, he gets into bar fights. He robs banks. He has a motorcycle. He dies. He gets shot by the cops, and when he's robbing a bank, and she's hiding in like a trash can. So then she can't go back to Alabama because she has no way home. So she meets a new guy on the road, and his name is Isaiah. And he's like, oh, hop in my truck. Let's like go to the coast together. So they're like hopping to like motels and stuff. And then she gets into like drugs, and he's drugging her and he's gaslighting her. And then he's like selling her in like the backs of strip clubs to like these men. And then he's like on drugs, and she's like, I think she's also on drugs. And he kills her and then eats her. This is where it gets dark.
I did not see that coming.
So it's like it's like cannibalism. And then there's like 2 songs that are instrumental, where it's like the process of her final moments and like him eating her, and then into her soul leaving her body. And then she finds her voice again in like the afterlife. And she's like talking about how she just like her last time she was at last time she was at peace was like with her first love in like the house that they used to visit, and like thinking about how much her mom is going to miss her and how much her death is going to like impact her mom. And then one of like end lyrics that I absolutely love, because you know how people are like, oh, like you're rolling in your grave type of comment. Mm-hmm. She's like, oh, what is that? I wrote it down. Oh, like turning in your grave. She says, if I'm turning in your stomach, I'm making you feel sick. And she just has this thing of like, I'm making you sick because basically you cannibalized me. And I just love it. The songs are so good. And now she's writing a book about it. And I'm like, I'm obsessed with it. And now I'm never getting over it.
I'm sorry. The way that you're like this lyrical genius that I need to share with you.
I'm making, and she just repeats it over. She's like, am I making you sick? And I'm like, yeah, fuck you, Isaac. Am I making you sick?
I'm feeling sick.
Devon, where was the cannibalism trigger warning? I feel like
yeah, that one really threw me for a fucking loop.
First, I was like, what did she write?
I said it was disturbing.
Yeah, well, I was like, okay, like Bonnie and Clyde, we're shooting things up, we're taking drugs, like la 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 la. Then he eats her.
I'm sorry, that's the definition of it. This escalated a little quickly. Like I was like, okay. Also, like again, her hiding in a trash can, very detailed. Is this part of like the lore, or these are like all of this you have?
She confirmed it. She confirmed. People asked her questions, and it's in the lyrics, and like she's confirmed stuff. And there's like a whole like Google Doc so you can get into of like everything, and like people asking her questions and she's answering them. But there is a lot of there's like even like some disturbing stuff that I didn't even say in that little breakdown. I mean, cannibalism is probably the most. I'm not going to say the most. People have their. But
wow,
yeah,
that's okay. But I love that it's getting turned into a book, even though 15 years to write 3 books. I feel like you already got the lore down. You got the story down. What's going to take 15 years? I don't know, but I'm not an author.
Yeah, and like, is it a continuation of this story, or is it?
I wonder if she's going to add more. She has other albums, but I've never listened to those. So maybe it's like, I don't know.
Well, and at what point in this trilogy is she going to be eaten and pass away?
Yeah. Couldn't tell you.
Okay, well, I think you might have hacked the audiobook time limit, because there's no time limit on music. So maybe if they just turned all of these books into albums,
my go-to for people who like can't do audiobooks, I listen to a lot of Broadway shows when I'm working. Because it's like a mix of both, like your storytelling, but I can listen to music. So I go through a lot of Broadway albums. But this was fun. This was like a new, like,
That is,
because there's a lot of research that had to go into it as well. It's like a rabbit hole.
I'm stumped for words. I think I had another recommendation, but I can't even bring it up after that.
I'm still in the trash can, honestly. Personally, I'm still in the trash can.
I don't know why I had to put in that detail. It just popped in my head, and I was like, yeah.
Seemed right.
Need to know that. I like kind of left out a few other like major things, but trash can.
Wow, when you said I have an unhinged recommendation, I didn't see that one coming. I appreciate it though.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it though.
You're welcome.
And I think we should just end on that, honestly. Yeah.
I have no other thoughts. Honestly,
I'm really stumped.
Everyone go listen to Preacher's Daughter. And we'll see you next time.
Take a few days to process and then come back. So, all right. That's it. That is it. That's it for today. Thank you guys so much for listening. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.